In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, our special guest is Mr. Clement Benedict. Clement Benedict is a purpose driven leader, transformational mentor, and fierce advocate for justice, involved individuals, and system impacted youth. As the founder and executive director of the Role Initiative, that's ROLE, Clement leads a multi state social impact organization rooted in responsibility, opportunity, leadership, and empowerment, offering trauma informed, credential based, and culturally responsive programming across New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. Born and raised in Brooklyn, Clement's journey is one of profound resilience and renewal. Once caught in the cycle of incarceration, Clement served 8 years in correctional facilities where he uncovered a passion for leadership and peer mentorship. While behind bars, he led a transformative workshop for over 100 incarcerated men, women, and youth, turning adversity into purpose and beginning the foundation for what would eventually become the Role Initiative. Upon his release, Clement applied his leadership in the private sector using skills he acquired over his 20-year track record into the auto industry and office management. His professional calling led to serve in direct service roles with Defy Ventures, Ironbound Community Corporation, HeartShare, St. Vincent Services, and Rising Ground, where he focused on career readiness, reentry support, and wraparound services for youth ages 14 through 25 and adults returning from incarceration. Clement has designed and facilitated evidence informed programming focused on employment pathways, emotional wellness, and community reintegration. His work spans SHIFT, which is shaping how you face tomorrow, a gender inclusive trauma informed life skills and reentry model, Life Readiness Academy, LRA, credentialing hub with OSHA's service, ServeSafe, CPR, sales, and Google IT access. Stage, a healing through drama initiative. Elite, professional professional development and workplace preparation. Super 30X, a 12-week wellness and self-mastery transformation program. As a career readiness and reentry manager at Defy Ventures, Clement oversaw tri-state programming, employer partnerships, and workforce training at Ironbound Community Corporation. He currently connects young adults to job opportunities and leads job readiness workshops. Clement is a proud father of three and a living testament to the power of second chances. His life work centers a dismantling systemic barrier on systemic barriers and building bridges of opportunity, one individual, one program, and one legacy at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Clement Benedict.
Hey, good evening.
Hello, sir. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing just excellent. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio before we get
Oh
into
no, I think my bio was entirely too long. Makes me sound like a saint.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm really happy to have you to share your journey, and the things that you're doing as far as your community contributing, because it actually means a lot, especially in these times when we do have people that are reaching back into communities to help to build others.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
thank you.
let's start with origins and personal journey. Let's talk about your story and establish this connection, as to you and the work that you're doing. Can you take us back to your early years and what shaped your worldview growing up?
No. So growing up, I was the only child to my mom. My father did have more children, but I never met, my brothers and sisters. I grew up in an African home. My mother is from Nigeria. So it was real cultural, let's put it that way.
Oh wow.
um, and growing up, I was lonely, let's put it that way. My uncle and my grandmother lived with us, but everybody is grown and I'm just a kid, trying to figure it out. I just took affinity to having friends, and my friends became like my brothers and sisters. And I got caught up with the wrong crowd, you know.
Mhm.
So getting caught up with the wrong crowd led me to, stealing cars, doing robberies, selling drugs. Nothing I'm proud of today, and nothing I wasn't even proud of it when I was doing it. But just to fit in, you know, people will do some of the craziest things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what pivotal moment led you to the work you do today?
Oh, to tell you the honest truth, it was a long road of bumps and bruises, and but I was incarcerated in 2014 at the age of 34, and I was sentenced to 8 years in prison for a crime I committed 2 years prior. Um, and after I committed the crime, I kind of turned around. I said, no, 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 this is not what I want to do. So I decided to go to school. I tried to become an auto mechanic, auto body specialist. Reason why I say I tried to become is because I went to school and I graduated in August of 2013. Tried to get into the field. Everybody wanted to put me back in sales because that was my background. You're strong on the floor. We want you to sell. And I'm like, no, I just want to fix cars. So bumping around for about 6 months of that led me to March, when I was incarcerated in the traffic stop, believe it or not. Got pulled over in a traffic stop. I had what is called an I card warrant. And that was it. That was the last time I saw freedom for the next 6.5 years. Um, so while I was incarcerated was pretty much when I made my change. It was that I would like to say it was that first night that I landed in my first prison. So you go through a process. You go to Rikers Island. After Rikers Island, you're going back and forth to court. Once you're convicted, they send you to a transfer center. It's, um, Man, I can't even remember that place. I'd have blocked it out of my mind.
Well,
But yeah, they sent you to downstate correctional facility. That's the transfer. So I went to downstate, and the next place they sent me to was Coxsackie correctional facility. So I guess it was that night when the door closed on me in reception. I'm looking out the window because it was a snowstorm at the time. I went up December 28th of 2014. So it was right after Christmas. And there's snow all over the place. And when you're going upstate, the snow is different from in the city. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm not saying snow doesn't get high. We've had some bad storms, but not your upstate snow. This is different. Like the
right.
bus is driving through a tunnel of snow on each side, like they're walls. So I get to my cell, the door closes. I'm looking out the window because I'm trying to take it all in. Like, all right, I'm still spinning because it's like, I looked at my sheet, 2021. but we're in 2014. I'm like 2021. I just couldn't fathom it. So um, I'm sitting there looking out the window. The snow is almost as high as the fence. And I'm just like, I'm upstate, man. Like I'm really in prison. I'm not going home, like no time soon. I'm pretty sure, yeah, there are many people that have more time than me, less time than me, but everybody's situation is different. And this happening to me after I was Mr. I get out of all kinds of trouble. Yeah, it was a life-changing moment. I thought about a lot. My kids, I thought about my family, it was a lot.
But I think that even in that process and just listening to you tell that part of your story, it actually says a lot that you instantaneously thought about, that whole situation because that's not where you wanted to be.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and so just when something like that was happening, like what were you thinking as to what you're gonna do when you get out of there?
Honestly, I had no idea what I was going to do
Mhm.
because the only thing that kept ringing in my head is you're not supposed to be here.
Right.
You know, like that's the only thing I kept thinking, like you're not supposed to be here. But I just knew that I had to do something better. And that's really what it was for me. Like I have to leave this place better than I came in. And it's not that I was so bad off. I had jobs. I did a little bit of hustling here and there. I was what you call one of those guys that played the fence. I was never 100% in the streets, and I was never 100% in the workforce. I was just existing. Let's put it that way. I knew that when I got up in the morning, I needed to eat, I needed money, I needed a bunch of different things. So I did what I had to do just to make sure that I got to the next day. So as I said, I was just existing.
So, how did your personal experiences, such as those with the justice system, influence your mission?
Um, it was really about rehabilitation. And I'm not saying that they don't have programs in prison that you can do that won't, give you some kind of support or maybe a little bit of guidance, but rehabilitation is for, the individual.
Mhm.
When you go to prison, nobody's really just jumping out to try and help you. That's not what it's there for. Or maybe that's what it should be there for, and then we wouldn't have so many people going back, But um, in prison, you have to look for your own rehabilitation, be it through spirituality, be it through education, a trade. There are many different things that you can do, but you have to apply that to yourself. And my problem was not knowing who I was. I didn't know who I was. I just knew I could do a whole bunch of things. I knew I was good at this, good at that, not so good at this, but who was I? So I would say I found purpose in prison. I knew that I was good at teaching people things. I knew I was good at learning things. And once I learn it, I can turn around and reteach it. And, that's, I guess, where my purpose lies.
So, what does redemption mean to you personally and professionally?
Hmm. Personally, it's like ridding yourself of all of those bad things that you had looming over your shoulder. To seek redemption for oneself is to get to know oneself.
Mm.
You know, um, and professionally, I mean, once you know yourself, then you know where to set your boundaries. You know where to draw your lines. People know who you are, and then they can make that decision if they want to deal with you or not. And you know who people are, you assess them. You have a different type of approach to most things.
So, was there a moment when you realized your story could empower others?
Um, hmm. It was a couple of moments. A few of so people tell me I'm smart, right? All the time. It's a great feeling to feel useful or to feel acknowledged. Um, but sometimes it goes in one ear and goes out the other ear. Until you're in a position where you can't really get out of it, or you're in a bad position the same way another person is in a bad position, but the smallest thing you do for that person like brightens up their day. So I would say, when I actually saw that the things that I was learning were working for me, and I started teaching them to other people and it started working for them, that's that moment.
Well, I think that, I mean, I know I don't know of you very long, but I know that when we connected on LinkedIn and we chatted, I knew right then and then I really wanted to have you on the show because when I read your profile, and I know when you mentioned, some things that was going on and how things had went and so forth,
Hmm.
you can see, well, you could clearly hear and understand that you are just like so many other guests that come here on the show, that you guys are really the heroes. You're more than just a person that's come through the fire. Do you ever think about the resilience and the things that you've taken on and how you've made them not only work for you, but you're making things work for others that's in that similar situation?
Um, well, yeah, the resilience is something I talk about often because, I mean, my story doesn't end at me, being released, incarcerated, and then I'm 100% successful. Like, this it came with a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, and I'm so proud to say that now. A lot of sleepless nights working on what I've been working on, because I've had a plenty of sleepless nights before, but they were not productive. You
Right.
know, I thought they were productive. Yeah, I had a great night. I had a blast. I was outside, but working on the role initiative, and not just the role initiative, just my everyday work, because I actually still work full time. The role initiative is not something that I run full time. um, I work at Ironbound Community Corporation as a job developer and employment coach, and my job every day is to deal with the community, to help people that are I'm not going to say less fortunate, but people who unfortunately are unemployed, or unfortunately, struggling with skills that they need for a job, or any of those things. And I'm proud to, help them with workshops and trainings. And not all of them come from me. I mean, I use my resources, you know.
So, how did your family respond to your transformation and advocacy work?
I'll say they're very proud. So my grandmother started her own nonprofit back in 1990 called African People's Council, where she was doing immigration work for, African immigrants coming into New York area. So, she was really rooted in that work. And I watched my grandmother work tooth and nail, and I like literally burned the midnight oil just to make sure that African immigrants that came into this country got citizenship, or they were taken, if their children were in foster care, they would help, she would help them get out of foster care. We're still friends with families that we've helped since then. She closed her doors, I believe, in 2005. And my grandmother is still alive and kicking. That's my rock. um, she was actually the one person that constantly maintained coming to visit me while I was upstate. She really kept me going, and I had to make the change for her. Not just for her, for my kids too, but my grandmother really showed up for me.
So, what role did faith or spirituality play in your journey?
Ooh, uh, I, I try to skirt this subject sometimes, only because of not my beliefs, but other people's beliefs. You know, I want to respect everyone. So I do not believe in um, organized religion, if I could say that politically correctly. Um, I'm more of a spiritualist. I'm a practicing Buddhist, and you know, I'd rather follow a path of enlightenment than somebody saying I have to pray to this God or that God. And I don't believe in any particular God. As I said, I'm spiritual. I know there is something, out
That's a
there
higher.
higher than, yeah, that's a higher being or a higher on a higher plane than us, but I don't know what that is. So I'm not going to put a name to it, a face to it, or a construct to it. What I will say is, in my studies of Buddhism, it leads me to learn, to observe, to discover, to be a right person, you know, preach the right things and try to lead in the right direction. So that's pretty much what I follow.
So, what's one lesson from your past that you can carry into every room you enter?
Hmm. Lesson from my past.
One
Ooh,
lesson.
just one. I was gonna say it's so many. I could spit bones like crazy, but um, one lesson I would say is listen more than you do anything.
Mm.
Observe more than you do anything. Most people would walk into a room and here I am, and some people will walk into a room and there I am. You know, I like to walk into rooms and sit in a corner, sit off in a space, and just watch and read the room.
Let's move over to some of the work that you do. And the one thing that I found to be interesting is you have a prison reentry program that you're operating. And can you tell us what inspired you to launch or join this program initiative?
Um, okay, so my program is a little more than a prison reentry program. It does multiple things.
Okay.
Um, so the best way to describe the role initiative is we are a pretty much social impact transformational program that help people transition in difficult points in their life.
Mhm.
So it could be from adolescence to adulthood. It could be from incarceration to reentry. It could be from trauma, hopefully, to healing. Many different things. A lot of our curriculum is based in trauma informed care with evidence based backing. So it's not just sole proprietary information. We're not just making it up. We're actually seeking out development that will actually work. And the outcomes that we're trying to promote are, better attendance in schools, people having more focus and better career focus, professionalism. We're teaching humanity. That's the best thing I can say.
Well, no, actually, no, that's excellent because there's just parts of your program, and I definitely understand that. But what I was just I was getting at in that point, because I know it's a whole lot more than that,
Mhm.
is like in the different parts, and just talking about this part, you know, just in what you're doing, especially for those that are out there listening, where,
Yes.
when we get to the part where they get to know not only what it is that you're doing for the various things in the role initiative, but,
Mhm.
just knowing that you may be a really good source for them, at least for those that may be looking for a program like yours to actually have some opportunities to do better.
Oh no, I totally understand. Well, so I was working for Defy Ventures, and we ran a pilot program in Horizons Juvenile Center in the Bronx. The pilot was an entrepreneurship program. That's how I came to be with Defy. While I was incarcerated, I entered into the program I went through the program, became a facilitator, taught the program, and eventually started working for Defy a few years after I came home. But as I was saying, it's we were teaching entrepreneurship to these young kids. They were between the ages of 14 to about 18, I believe, right? And they were excited about the entrepreneurship portion, being their own boss, selling a product or commanding a room, public speaking. They were excited about all of that. The one thing they weren't excited about was how much work went into actually doing it. They didn't want to read the books. They didn't want to actually do the work. They wanted to be kids, which I can understand, you know. So I was like, how do we, change this? And Defy's focus at that point, they were running a pilot. So their focus was more on reentry with adults, where they were running boot camps and things like that. So, I was like, wow, this is great. And I guess it wasn't the right time and I just said, I just think this has to be done. And it's something that just kept like at the back of your ear or the back of your neck. It just keeps, and you're just like, no, this has to be done. So I started thinking about all the different things I went through when I was incarcerated, what worked, what didn't work, the people I worked with. And, I started talking to kids that I was working with, and I started creating the role.
So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about formerly incarcerated individuals? Because I know that's got to be tough when they come from that to come back into society. What is this misconception that a lot of people have that's wrong?
Hmm. What isn't? What isn't? Um, I don't know. It's hard to say because there's so many different beliefs. You know, the stigmas that people that are formerly incarcerated deal with. Of coming home, wanting a job. Some of them have skills, and it's like, no, you are incarcerated. I'm not going to trust you. So I could say trust is one of the things that is a big hindrance to reentry, because how do you trust somebody that the first thing you know about them is that they're incarcerated?
Mhm.
You don't know what they're incarcerated for, whether, and it's not a good thing, nor is it a bad thing. Like most people that I speak to now, when I talk to them in a regular conversation, unless I mentioned that I was incarcerated, they wouldn't know. You know, I'm actually glad they took the box off of the application, because that right there, and most people that are formerly incarcerated, once they saw that box, it's like, I ain't getting this job,
Oh,
you
wow.
know. So, you know, I can't speak for anyone else because I don't want people to say, oh, he's just blanketing in an opinion.
Right.
But, what I perceive is that, we haven't changed.
Mm. See, so
And
that
so that's
transitions into this question here, because what I hear from you is that, and I think that's what makes your work so important, is because, like, how do you help these people rebuild their lives post that? Because
mhm.
I know that once they go through that kind of scrutiny, something has to help them to build. How do you do that?
It's so the reason why a lot of my curriculum is based in trauma informed care is because when you're incarcerated, you're traumatized.
I believe that.
Yeah, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but you are traumatized because you're taken out of regular society and now you're put into a sub society of regular society. And then on top of that, you're told what to do, despite what anybody says they are going to do. You're
Mhm.
told what to do. And if you don't do what you're told to do, who knows what could happen to you?
Mm.
I'm not going to throw any stones, fling any, I'm not going to break any glass, but in my incarceration, I've seen a lot.
Mm.
I've seen a
So
lot. So
So then when you was working on this curriculum that you have with Roll,
yes.
and you've got the various segments that you deal with, right?
Hmm.
So in just dealing with that, and you're working with these individuals, what are some of the things that you had to get yourself set for in order to start doing this, like instructing and giving people some guidance as to how to move and shape? How did that work?
A lot of it is by my own personal experience, things that I've done, things that other people have done, parts of things that I've learned from maybe other programs that I've attended or been in, or, just regular everyday life of trying new things and seeing if they work or if they don't work.
Mm. So So when you've got people, you've got returning citizens, that are
Hmm.
coming back, and let's just think about when you actually was ready to get your life together, when your time came
Yes.
to come and do what you had to do.
Hmm.
When you started working, and in the process of working, you knew you was going to do more. What was the actual motivation behind, and what were some of those concepts that you used from your past experience to create role?
Okay. So, direction, right?
Mhm.
Um, I would say a person is a master of their destiny, right?
Okay.
We all control minor things that in our lives, right? Not major things, but minor things.
Mhm.
We can say we control major things, but you can walk out of your house and something can fall right out of the sky. You can't control that. That's a major thing, right? All right. So minor things are I control possibly what time I wake up in the morning if I set my alarm, right? I control what time I leave my house if I set my alarm for an appropriate time, knowing that I need to get ready. So it's about intention. I intend to do these things and I am going to prepare myself to do these things so that I can do these things. And then when I can do these things, I will execute them.
Mhm.
And that's it. It's a real simple formula.
So how do you build trust when you're working with these new folks that are coming in? Because you were talking about the trust issue. How do you
Mhm.
build the trust?
Well, how I built my trust pretty much is being a man of my word. So, one of our taglines at the Role Initiative is be the change you want to see. And that's kind of the philosophy that I lived by, as I was telling you, with intent. Whatever I wanted to see, I in turn became it. So I followed the path. And if I can follow the path, you can follow the path, you can follow the path. Everybody can go down that path. We might not come to the same conclusion. I might come to the end of the path and decide to keep going further. You might come to the end of the path and decide to go right. Someone else left. Someone else might turn back around and say, I skipped a couple of steps. Let me go and retrace my steps. But either way, we are all human beings, despite the color of our skin, where we live on this planet. We are all the same species, and we're all capable of the same things, aside from other things. But yeah, we're practically all capable of the same things.
Let's talk about some of your work in workforce development because when we talk about economic empowerment, structural change,
Hmm.
that's all those are all contributing factors to that. Can you tell us why is workforce development critical to community healing?
It's critical because if people aren't working in the community, then the community is poor. if there's
Exactly.
no if there's no money coming in and there's nothing going out, that's poverty is a big issue in America, and with poverty, some people snap and they turn to crime. Other people give up and they might turn to homelessness. I'm not saying that everybody knows what to do, but if you know what money is, if you understand the concept of money, right? People chase money. I just need a lot of money. I need a lot of money. But if you have a lot of money and no plan, what do you have? A lot of money. Exactly. And if you have no money, but a great plan, you can go get money.
Mhm.
So it's really about the resources for me. And the Role Initiative is a comprehensive mesh of different programs with resources backed in what we humans need to survive on this planet, from where we are to where we will go.
So, what industries are most receptive to hiring returning citizens?
I would say a lot of trades industries. Corporate is very hard to get into. Aside from corporate, even some skilled trades, like you could lose your licenses if
Yeah.
you're incarcerated, even if your incarceration has nothing to do with that working license.
Mhm.
Take, for example, a dealer's license. I used to have one, got incarcerated, no longer have it. So those things happen. I'm not saying they don't, they do happen.
So, how do you prepare participants for
Excuse me.
long-term career success?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I was coughing.
How do you prepare participants for long-term career success?
Uh, I start by getting to the basics with them, right? Um, why are you not employed? You know, what can you do? What can lead to employment, right? So, are you employable right now? Um, it's really just assessing if a person is ready to jump into the job market or if they need further development into the job market. Some people have skills in a job market that's oversaturated. So they'll pretty much be sitting on the bench for a very long time because nobody's really leaving that industry. They might have to make a career pivot. So, I try to help people. I start from where they are, you know, and I meet them where they are and I try to take them where they want to go.
So, what role does mentorship play in your workforce program?
Um, Everybody needs a support system. Having a good support system at home is great. But we are all limited by the information that we possess. So my mom and my grandmother could be nurses, right? And they could be saying, "Yeah, go ahead. We want you to be that, computer engineer." But they really don't know anything about computer engineering. But if I got someone who knew about computer engineering to give me that support with that knowledge in their background, how much more is that support impactful? So the mentorship is around what they're being taught, aside from what they're being taught, what their focuses are on. So we try to push them in that direction to get the mentors that will continue to actually evolve them.
So, how do you navigate employer bias and stigma?
Strategic partnerships.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not looking for any employers that are going to give us a maybe. We want definites
Mhm.
because people don't maybe need a job. They definitely need one. So,
Most definitely.
yeah.
So when you go out and when you seek these partnerships with these companies, like how do you decide which companies you want to seek these partnerships with, and why do you pick those companies?
So, a very important lesson that I learned in entrepreneurship is to become a successful business person, entrepreneur, or, in that realm, you have to find a problem that nobody's fixing, and then you fix that problem.
Ooh, okay. That's it. Now you gonna have to teach me about that. That's real. That
Yeah.
that's real, and we all try to find a way to kind of like I would say just maneuver or get around that.
Hmm.
Because that's one that you will probably think that you want to solve that, but I've never seen that solved.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, right? We can only solve problems if we learn from the past and if we actually look for the problem, not just keep talking about the problem. We have
Okay.
to look for solutions to the
Mhm.
problem. So somebody says, hey, my car broke down. All right, call a tow truck. That's a solution, right?
Yes.
But calling a tow truck doesn't fix the car. We need to know what's wrong with the car,
Mhm.
right? So find out what's wrong with the car. Once you plug it up and you're doing your diagnostic, it'll tell you what's wrong with one thing. But that one thing that's wrong might lead to another. So we have to start at the root of the problem.
So, what's your vision for Black economic mobility in the next decade?
Ooh. Um, a lot of financial literacy, a whole lot.
Mhm.
Um, things are moving at a rapid pace, right?
Very.
Cryptocurrency was a figment of our imagination in movies. Uh, I don't even know how long crypto's been around. That's it's been around for a good while when blockchain and Bitcoin and stuff. But before we weren't thinking of like a digital currency. We were just straight into hard currency. And now the way things are changing, barely anybody, well, I don't carry cash. I barely carry cash.
Right.
Everything is tap in my card, Apple Pay, so knowing how these systems work will help us, survive in them. But I think we need to go a little bit further than that. Um,
Okay.
so I read a book while I was incarcerated called The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Oh,
And
who wrote that?
oh man, I don't remember the guy's name. I'll see. I'm ready to pick my phone up and do a Google real quick.
Well,
but
I'm writing that down. You said the creature from Jekyll Island.
yes, The Creature from Jekyll Island. One second. The creature. There we go. Okay, so it was written by G. Edward Griffin,
Okay.
and that book is a profound book. That book talks about the Federal Reserve, how it was created. Talks about the education system. Talks about a lot, and there are a lot of quotes in there. Aside from quotes, the information in that book makes you start to look at money and like different, like our social, just the way our economy works and everything in a totally different light. Um, we really use money as a tool. It's a tool to be used, right? So Robert Kiyosaki, another great mind, um, he's teaching people how to use credit to make money out of money that you don't even have. Like, what is a credit card? They're giving you an advance of $6,000. Where is that money? Where is it? It's a figment of our imagination, but it's on a marker system, right? So once I spend that $6,000, I have to pay that $6,000 plus interest. So they're making money. Why shouldn't I make money on the money that they're loaning me? We have to buy into the principles of the country that we live in. America was built on capitalism. We are trillions of dollars in debt, but yet our lights are on, cars are still being bought, people are eating food, supermarkets are stocked. So, all we have to do is learn how that marker system works much better, and then we'll do better.
So, how do you measure success in workforce development?
It's not really just getting somebody a job, because you have to do your follow-ups, right? So if you get somebody a job, you got to follow up with them 30 days later. Are you still employed? 90 days later, hey, are you still at the same job, or did you go somewhere else? A year later, congratulations, you've been at the same job for a year, or Hey, what are you doing now? Do you need some more development? So it's consistency. That
So,
follow up is very key.
so what advice would you give to someone starting a similar initiative to yours?
Do your research.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely do your research. I'm not going to say that everything I've started is successful. There's some things that people are looking like, I don't want to learn that. You're trying to change a person's habits, their mind, the way they work, or not try to change. You're trying to show them a different way of doing things. Possibly they can be more successful in that route or not. So you really have to do a lot of research to find out not just what motivates people, but what can actually help them solve those problems that they have.
Let's um let's talk about the youth development program that you work with, what you do as well, and
Mhm.
with the young people. What led you to focus on youth development?
Well, I have kids. My oldest is 23 now. My middle child is 21, and my youngest is 16. And, while I was incarcerated, I just kept thinking of what kind of world, am I going to come back to? We get to watch the news a lot, so I'm seeing, juvenile crime going through the roof. Now they're gang banging. And then one eye opener was and I don't want to bring it up because I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, but the Kai Sanat incident where he was supposed to be giving away, I think, PlayStation 5s in
Oh,
Union, yeah, in Union Square, and it turned into pandemonium. Like,
oh my God.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is crazy. And these are our youth. And, being affiliated with all kinds of nefarious things, gangs and doing what I was doing. I just think to myself, like, is this the world I want my kids to grow up in? And I'm not trying to say parents should do better because we can do what we can do. Like I said, we can only do as best as the information that we have. So I I just think that kids need some direction because when we're not here anymore, they're leading the next future. I see in America where we have presidents that are older than the age of 50, 60. We should our presidents should get younger. Get a president that's around maybe 45 or so, like JFK, and then have him an advisor or somebody that will help him shepherd the way or something. But you know, I don't know. We got to do something, and we have to do better. That's all I can say.
So, how do you connect with young people who feel unseen or unheard?
I listen to them.
Mhm.
I listen to, their concerns. I listen to what it is that, is actually bothering them because that's their number one thing. They don't feel heard. They don't feel like anybody's actually listening to them. So I will sit down. I won't say a word and I will listen to everything you have to say. All the profanity, your belligerence, everything. And then I'll start asking you questions reflective of, is this going to be a positive or a negative for you?
Mm.
So going at it with a real motivational interviewing style.
Okay. So, what are the most urgent needs facing Black youth today?
There are a lot of different things. Um, they need they need a restart in their imagination, creation. Um, Sounds crazy. I'm just saying. Um, when I was growing up, we played inside, we played outside. We made up our own things. Now imagination is pre-programmed. It's in an app. You swipe left, you swipe right, or you tap this. And I don't want to say anything bad about certain shows, but look at Coco Melon. I mean, if you really think about how kids respond to that show, just turn that show off while your 2 or 3 year old is watching it and watch what happens.
Hmm. Well, I don't know what Coco Melon is, but
Oh,
I will
it's
say,
it's it's a kids show. It's a kids show, but they have a lot of like music prompts, and it's an interactive show. And I'm not saying the concept isn't good, but sometimes you have to do things in moderation. And if that's babysitting the kid, then what do you think is going to happen when you turn it off?
Mhm. Well,
So yeah.
do you think when we talk, since while we're talking about the youth,
Yes.
because I've had some conversations with some guests that have been on the show, especially educators.
Hmm.
And the thing that I've asked, and I especially like to ask you because you deal with youth, is what have you seen with them when it comes to their critical thinking skills?
Um, you mean their critical emotion skills?
Critical thinking, because a
Oh no,
lot
I
of
know you said critical
yeah.
thinking. I'm saying critical emotion
Oh, you
because
said
I don't
oh,
I don't even think they think. They go
oh,
straight to emotion. I'm just I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Um, the youth, not all youth, of course, but the youth
right.
that I have dealt with, um, when they don't get their way, the first thing they say is, "I'm about to tee up." So tee up is I'm about to tear it up, right?
Okay. So you teach
And
me, thank you.
right. So now when they go into tee up mode is supposed to be you're going to give me what I want so I don't destroy everything. Yeah.
Oh, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I had to deal with in the group home setting. And not only in the group home setting, you see it on the streets. Everybody is so um, aggressively charged, especially where I am in New York, right? All our youth are aggressively charged. It's like we go from just having a regular conversation to now I'm on 1,000, I'm screaming, I want to fight. And it's bad. It's bad.
Now now I see some of that, but I can't say I've experienced that personally.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've been right in the middle of fists being thrown and a lot. Yeah. So yeah, I actually had a fire extinguisher sprayed in my face in a fight. Yeah.
Well, because like I have some younger nephews and cousins, and sometimes when you see some of that, I have asked the question, "What are you so mad about?" I mean, like, what do these kids tell you that they're mad about? Because I don't really understand that. Because when I was coming up, there was nothing like that. I mean, I don't know what that is, but there's like some, as you say, charge. They're really charged.
um, honestly, it's not. I don't even think it's a mad thing. And like I said, this is just my opinion. I don't think it's a mad thing. What I think it is not understanding how to properly control your emotions.
Mhm.
Also, how to properly express yourself and communicate. Um, we all go through many different situations. A lot of the youth that I've worked with, their parents weren't in the best states, you
Okay.
know, and that transfer from the parent down to the child of principles and morals, and it just didn't happen the way it for lack of better words or phrase, the way it's supposed to happen, right? And how is it supposed to happen? Our parents are supposed to teach us how to be successful in life, right or wrong.
Mm.
They shepherd us into adulthood.
Yes.
And in America, we have many different things that are borrowing that from happening. Many barriers. Inflation, the economy is the way it is. Unemployment rates are high. Some parents are sinking into depression. Some parents are working 2 and 3 jobs, so they're not even home to supervise or teach their kids anything. By the time they come home, they're too tired. It's like, listen, whatever you say, all right. And that's maybe on a good side if it's that way, even though it still appears and comes off negligent. But then you have the parents that are mad at the situations that they're in, and who do they have to talk to?
So,
So
how do you incorporate history and identity into your youth programs?
well, history, it kind of depends. Um, so we do talk about history, the things of the past. We try to get kids to understand what their rights are. So just knowing your simple rights. My program isn't based only for one particular group of people, one race or anything. So we touch on a little bit of everything, and we try to expose people to other cultures and not force it on them, but expose. So we empower them to speak about their culture and so on and so forth. So history is more about, their their origins, I would say, their origins, and expressing that.
So, what does leadership look like in the next generation?
What does it look like now, or what should it look like? I, I would like to know, because I don't know right now. I really don't know. There are many leaders in community, and right now it's kind of hard because our communities are suffering.
Right.
And I don't like to get political, but what I see is that's going on in America right now scares me.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can say. It scares me.
How do you help youth navigate systemic barriers and dream bigger?
Um, so as I was saying about the imagination creation piece, um, every plan, everything that we've done in life started from, our imagination, a dream, or, just us thinking it up. And, I try to push them, and me and my staff, we try to push them to dream of what they want, their purest dream. Like, if you had a perfect world, what would it be? And then we work into how would you obtain it? And then from how you would attain it to, let's start making some little steps to work towards that path. And let's see what would be your purpose. It's like really starting from the very beginning and fine tuning, or starting a sweater from the first thread and knitting it all the way till it's a full sweater.
So, what's one moment with a young person that affirmed your purpose?
Mm, wow. I actually taught somebody. Okay, so I was working with this kid. We were incarcerated together, and he was in ABE, which is Adult Basic Education, and he could read and he could do math, but he wasn't all that great in it. And I had to teach him, basic algebra. And I don't know, it's just like the way I broke it down to him and the way he got it, like, really affirmed for me that, hey, you're good at teaching. But you know where he took it, like, kind of blew me away, because he was in ABE and we were in the same prison for almost 3 years. And by the time he was leaving, he was about to graduate from the college program.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like, this soaked up everything. He just went crazy. And he would come to me like, yo, what's this? Yeah, all right, no problem, sort of thing. And just the development, and it was like, wow, I'm really, and it just gave me a new sense of drive. Like, yeah, I need to keep going with this.
So, how do you involve families and communities in youth development?
Um, well, see, the thing is, youth development, the family and the community is always intricate in that. They're the support system. The community is the actual ground where you're performing all of these duties. So that we have to include the parents. If the kids don't feel supported by their parents, what are they going to do? Whatever they want to do.
Yeah. When we spoke, also, I informed you that we do Black History 365.
Hmm.
And I asked you, I said, who were the most influential, uh, people, person or persons in your life or your career when it comes to Black history? You told me it was MLK, Malcolm X, Louis Farrakhan, and Barack Obama. Can you tell us why are Dr. King, Malcolm X, Farrakhan, and Obama so central to your journey?
Um, all of them were great speakers, great thinkers. Um, you know, they'd gone through many different changes in their life. Malcolm X, he was formerly incarcerated. Dr. King was a pastor. Obama, who thought he would be the first black president? He was just a guy from where he was from Hawaii. Um, and Louis Farrakhan, you know, like they all speak so well, and it's not just the speaking, it's the intent in their words and the reason. They really captivate people. So, I think, like I said, you walk into a room, listen. If you listen, you'll learn something. And people who, I am pretty sure they did a lot of listening to speak the way they speak.
So, why did Dr. King, what did Dr. King teach you about moral courage and vision?
Um, I mean, I could just start to say some quotes because I wrote down some quotes that really touched me. With Martin Luther King, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today.
Mm.
And that speaks strong in habit, learning. If you have to learn, we have to continuously learn on this planet that we are on for however long or many years that we are here. Every day we learn something,
Mhm.
and we shouldn't take that for granted.
Right. And so, like, the thing that's so key, because that is what a lot of folk are starting to realize, that education is everything. You definitely
Mhm.
need education.
Yeah.
But what we're finding is that, just when we think about today's climate,
Mhm.
is like if you want to call it black communities, you want to call it underserved, marginalized communities, urban communities, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
It's like that there's an attack on that,
Yeah.
because it's like there's some things that's trying to keep kids from reading, trying to keep kids from learning their history, and then trying to keep kids just in general from going to school.
Mhm.
With the role initiative, what part can you guys play in that to keep kids focused and moving and
Oh,
get
you over here trying to get me to give up my secret sauce. I've been trying to duck it the whole time. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Um, so activity based, activity based workshops.
Mhm.
So we're not putting big books in front of people. We're not telling them, here, read all of this information and then start. The education system does that for us, right? In
Mhm.
junior high school, I used to have like 4 or 5 textbooks in my book bag. I looked like a turtle going to school. Um, and everything is A, B, C, D. If not, none of the above. life is not like that. And I think if we focused more on teaching kids how to live life and elevate in life, we would get better results.
Okay. So, how has Malcolm X's philosophy shaped your approach to justice?
Malcolm X was a serious man. He said what he meant what he said. And aside from that, he did not say anything that he would come to regret later. He stood on it. And
Well,
that, and to really, oh, actually, my apologies. I wasn't even looking at the right place. Malcolm X said that education quote. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. That's my apologies. Martin Luther King said intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. But back to the quote. So Malcolm X also knew education, and he also had another quote, I'm for truth. No matter who tells it, I'm for justice, no matter who it is for or against. He wasn't partial, you know.
right.
You're wrong, you're wrong. You're right, you're right.
Yeah, because that impartiality about right and wrong itself in general, that's just way off the cuff because there's no such animal as that.
Hmm.
That animal does not exist.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
what have you learned from Minister Farrakhan about discipline and legacy?
Oof. Talk about Minister Farrakhan. So, I don't know if you remember when Minister Farrakhan was on Phil Donahue. I think this was in
Oh, there
1990.
was that no, that was 80 something.
I believe so.
That was 80 something.
So when he was on Donahue, no, I think this was probably the second time he went on there because he went on a few times.
Okay.
But there was one time that he was on there and they were talking about, racism and somewhat gentrification. And, they had black people sitting on one side, white people on one side. Maybe some were mixed in between, but they were talking about, black versus white, what the pressures are and what the situation is. And the way he handled the conversation was it was mastery. He didn't get upset. Even though people were upset, he didn't get upset. And even when our people, for lack of, our people got upset because other people were saying certain things, he still calmed them down. No, 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 no. Don't yell. Let that person speak. He was fair about it. But in him being fair, he also told the 100% truth. So that show, it was deep because one lady got up and said, I grew up and I want this to be understood. She said, I grew up in Bedford Stuyvesant, quote unquote, back in the day. And what I hear, when I hear you speak, or black people speak about what they're going through, I hear violence. And I swear, Minister Farrakhan said, you hear violence. He said, well, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not saying exactly what he said. He said, years, well, in 400 years, we don't have a history of killing white people, but white people have a history of killing black folks. So I'm not sitting here telling you that we're being violent. We don't have a history of violence, sort of thing. So it's like to be that brutally honest, and how can you refute something like that when this is truth in our history?
Wow. Ooh. Well,
So It's
I,
really about the truth.
yes, and you know, I think when we talk about truth telling, because you know that's what I that's all we do. We just talk. We just tell you the truth, and so I can tell you that some of those things that you're saying, you're absolutely correct about, because when people hear too much truth is like a slap.
Yeah, it hurts.
And so,
I mean, listen, too much truth. I had too much truth. That's why I changed my life, because I got slapped when I looked out that window and I saw the fence with the barbed wire. I couldn't leave the room I was in. My toilet was connected to my sink, and I was
oh,
sleeping on a metal slab. So the truth hurts.
wow. How has President Obama's story influenced your belief in possibility?
Um, so just look at the guy, man. Just look at what he's done.
Mhm.
You know, there's nobody else that can say I was the first black president in America.
Right. Two terms.
There you go. 2 terms. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Hmm.
2 terms. And he did it. He did it. The way he could do it. He did it the best way.
If you could sit down with all four men, what would you ask them?
Whew. Uh, I would. It's funny because I thought about this question, right? And my first answer would be, what would you have done differently? But no, I would like to say my question is, what would you do now?
Mm.
Yeah, I would say that's a better question. What would you do now?
But when you say that, because now that question is like definitely open ended but loaded at the same time.
Yeah.
What is the main premise and focus of that question?
Well, the main premise and focus is, in everything that they were doing, in everything they were striving for, in everything they were trying to create in society for our people.
Mhm.
You know, they did what they did then because that was then. But what would they do now?
Mhm.
Some of them are not living, some are. And I would love to know what those great minds would sit down and actually come up with.
How do you carry their teachings into your daily work?
Um, well, with their quotes, affirmations, um, a lot of a lot of their vision is baked into some of the things that the Role Initiative does. So I would say, yeah, I take them everywhere I go.
What message do you want young black men to hear from your story?
From my story, that you can change at any time that you are ready. Just don't change when it hurts too much.
Oh, so like when you say that, I mean like when you say don't change too much.
No, don't change when it hurts too much.
Don't change when it hurts too much. Oh
Right.
wow, okay. So then that could be an emotional response.
Hmm.
Yeah. So so in closing here, um what what words of wisdom and encouragement do you have for our audience? How can they connect with you via your social media? How they can connect with you on your website? What would you like for them to know a whole lot more about the Role Initiative?
Well, I would just like to end off with the tagline: "Be the change you want to see."
Mhm.
You can. Look at our Instagram at the_role_initiative9. Our website is www.theroleinitiative.com. Um, just reach out to us. And I just hope that the teachings that we bring, or people will see value in the teachings that we bring.
Well, I would love to. I want to thank you for being here because I think the work that you do is more than impactful. And I definitely hope that for those that are out there watching tonight, that they get the message and understand not just the work that you're doing, but the legacy that you're building in communities with the work that you do. Because our communities need, people like you and more people going into our communities, actually building these communities because they're so under resourced and
Mm-hmm.
there's so many problems going on that a lot of times people are just missing it.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole problem. But for those of you that are watching on all the 8 channels in which we're streaming tonight, I appreciate you for watching. For those of you that are watching on the YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all notifications, I would appreciate your support if you would do that for us, please. For those of you that are also watching, I hope that you guys listened to the message that Clement was just giving us tonight. Because when you think about resiliency, when you think about power, when you think about positivity, when you think about just making it happen, he exudes all of those things. And in the process of exuding all those things, he's building communities. Now, I want you to think about that. Think about that impact. We're talking about building communities. He's putting the work into the communities. This is why it's so important for those of you that are watching that you more than go out and you make sure that you at least solicit some advice or just connect with him and to understand what the role initiative is about, because I can guarantee you it matters not where you are. This is about something that resonates with each and every individual that's on the face of this planet, because we've all faced some form of adversity in some shape, form, or fashion, especially as a youth coming up. And there was something missing. And so this is something that is more than that's important. I ask that you guys please do at least do that. Reach out. Reach out because it's important. I thank you all for watching us tonight. This was a great show. This was very impactful. I want to thank you again, Clement, and I hope that we can have you back on the show again.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
for all of you that are watching, thank you for joining us tonight here on American Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. We will see you guys tomorrow night. Have a great evening. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you.